The next bill we have is Senator Goodwin's bill, Senate Bill 880. This bill prohibits the practice of importing a wild animal into the state, which animal is not native or indigenous to the state for the purpose of conducting shan hunting. We have, it looks like, 2 witnesses signed up to testify, Michael Woods and Ariana Portagen. You have beautiful handwriting, I just still can't read it, so I apologize. Right?
I'll say.
Sir, we'll start with you. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Chairwoman. My name is Michael Woods. I'm a Rhode Islander. I'm a hunter, and I'm a volunteer board member for the New England chapter of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, a sportsman's voice for public lands, waters, and wildlife. We're here today in support of this bill, although we have submitted testimony with a couple additions that we'd like to see implemented. First, I'll point out that in the hunting community, canned hunting is generally not regarded as acceptable and or fair chase, and so we take an issue with that with regard to the practice. The 2 biggest concerns we have to do with the addition of domestic animals, specifically pigs, to the list of animals that be prohibited to bring into the state, as well as native wildlife such as white-tailed deer. I've listed a couple examples in the written testimony of why that's important, but I also wanted to provide a couple figures in terms of dollars that would sort of drive home the impact here. Wisconsin is a good case study on the introduction of chronic wasting disease through white-tailed deer. In 2001, 2 deer were detected with CWD in Wisconsin. Over the subsequent years, they allocated $40 million to manage the disease in Wisconsin. And at the same time, they lost somewhere between $48 and $96 million in spending from the hunting community that would have gone towards managing that disease. Looking at feral hogs, they currently inhabit about 1/3 of the United States, mostly in the South, and cause about $1.5 billion worth of damage annually. So what I'd like to point out is that if these things are allowed to be imported into Rhode Island and then they somehow escape from the facility, how are we going to come up with the resources to manage them, and what are we going to do with the Department of Environmental Management that's already strapped in terms of both financial resources as well as personnel? I'll also point out that a lot of other states, specifically those in New England, have already implemented laws and regulations to prohibit importing these types of animals for these specific reasons. Both Connecticut and Massachusetts have laws and regulations that would prohibit this sort of thing, and we would like to see Rhode Island do the same thing and push this through during this legislative session. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for this witness? Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome.
Hi there, my name is Ariana Morajian. I am a board member of the Wildlife Rehabilitators Association of Rhode Island. We are here in support of this bill. We do support further amending it to include the importation, banning the importation of native species as well, for all of the points that I apologize, I don't. Michael has raised. I think it's very important to note that both Massachusetts and Connecticut have not only invested substantial resources in similar legislation, but also in preventing the spread of chronic wasting disease into the state. It has the potential to devastate the hunting community as well as our native wildlife populations, and it's Rhode Island is situated in such a way that it had. If this legislation were not was not approved, and this was allowed to go through, and canned hunting was allowed to happen here, it has the potential to devastate hunting opportunity for most Rhode Islanders to the benefit of a few very specific, very wealthy individuals, and it is just simply something that is not good for our economy and our native ecosystems.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments for this witness? Thank you. With that, Senator Lombardi moves to hold Senate Bill 880, seconded by Senator Coyne. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The bill is held.